Hi, today I'm joined by Fire Risk Assessor Andy Leather, and today we're going to be looking at arson risks in relation to fire risk assessments, or FRAs, in churches. Andy, is arson a real risk for churches, and what precautions can be taken to avoid such risks?
Arson is always a risk, it's always potentially there. What's important is we manage the risk as best we can. Now, it can be as simple as making sure that the waste containers, the bins, are kept away from the building fabric, because by doing so, if somebody does set fire to the bins, it becomes a bonfire in the car park, as opposed to being next to the building when it could spread to the building and lose the building. We should also manage the amount of combustible items that are held within a church. We do have this ever-present source of ignition, which is a candle, for example. What we need to make sure that should an arsonist decide to strike, we don't give him the opportunity by having lots of, for example, waste or clothing or other items that could be accumulated within a church.
So within this church, are there any arson risks or any causes for concern?
Well, arson is always there, potentially, but it happens very rarely, fortunately, within churches. Within this particular church, we have the ever-present candle, which is always a source of ignition, but we don't have a lot of potential fire loading or combustible items present. So everything's generally pretty well managed. So the risk of arson is reduced probably as far as reasonably practicable, taking into account that we do want to allow people access to the church on a day-to-day basis.
And Andy, are there any precautions that can be taken to reduce the chance of an arson attack or even alarm someone if an arson attack takes place?
Well, frequent visits by the wardens or the fire wardens is a good way of just keeping an eye on the church and looking out for any suspicious behaviour. If there is a particular risk of arson and a church may be concerned of that risk, then simple small CCTV cameras located at entrance points can be a very good deterrent to the arsonists.
Is it fair to say then that churches are less likely to face an arson attack?
Yes, I would agree with that. Statistically, there are few arson attacks within churches. However, the key to it is to be vigilant and make sure that things are as good as you can get. Bearing in mind that a church has open access most days. We need to make sure that combustible loading is kept to a minimum and we manage and control ignition sources.
That's great, Andy. Thanks very much.